Hey guys, can you hear me? Can you all hear me? Say yes or no. Can you hear my mouth? Can see my mouth moving? All right. Thanks, Dean. Does it sound pretty good? All right. Loud and clear. Not as loud as my banjo. Hi, Lance. Clear as a bell. Just a couple more minutes, and Ben's just itching to get on and answer some questions and hang out with you guys. It's pretty cool. Pretty cool. Let's see if he's ready. Let me know where everyone's from in the chat. Cool, Dan. Yeah, it's a really cool shirt. It's really, he did that himself. That's pretty neat. Illinois. Lance is from Illinois. Georgia. Hi, John. I know, Dwayne, you're from Kentucky. Yep. Dean, you're from Illinois. Yep. Home of Allison Krauss. Nice. All right. So we have Ben Clark joining us here in a second. We pretty amazing guest this time, and here he is.
Hey, what's up, buddy?
All right.
Howdy, y'all. I see some of my friends are already in the chat. That's really cool. Some people that I really, really know well and love. Some of my favorite people are here joining us, and that includes you, Colin. Thanks for having me, man.
Thank you. It's a huge honor to have you here.
Well, it's an honor for me to be here, man. I don't know about all the fanfare about me, but you deserve a lot of recognition for just what you do for the bluegrass banjo community and the excitement that you bring and the whole, genre and just the art of making banjo music is better because of you. So thank you.
Oh, well, thank you. Yeah. I want to do something to help, kind of inspire, younger generations, new generations to start playing the banjo,
You know what? I know that what you say is true. It's very evident that you want to do that. And so thank you for doing that. And it's my honor to be here. Even though I'm not getting paid. No, it's my honor to be here, man, and hang out with y'all. And we had some really great submission questions that I can't wait to jump into. We're going to be on here for a couple hours, and that's really cool. And so I've got some exciting things I think to share and to help out some of these folks that ask questions. And maybe folks can learn a little bit more about what I do and maybe more about what you're trying to do for the banjo community. And and by the way, it's such a huge honor to be included in that first edition of the Banjo All-Stars. I feel like I'm the least of these. So many great, just legendary pickers, including who you had on last month, Jim Pankey. What a legend he is already, and so to be included in that company is just such a gift and surprising, and I'm thankful. And so I want to know how I can give back too. So that's why I'm here.
Well, great. Well, definitely good to have you. You're a very inspiring musician, human being, in fact, not just a musician, but a human being. So,
well, thank you.
I think of you as kind of a role model. I'm probably I'm probably a role model. So I think you're doing personally in your life. It shows. So I really appreciate that.
For sure.
So yeah, the way this sort of works is we'll wait for a few more people to show up, but we're going to do a light interview. So probably 20, 30 minutes, just getting to know you a little bit more. I'm sure everyone here knows you, but I have some questions maybe to kind of highlight some backstory maybe, and get to know you a little bit more in depth.
Yeah, for sure. Because I think that I think I got here by accident, and maybe we'll get into some of that, but I never set out to even be a banjo player, much less a YouTube educator or a business owner or anything like that. So I still, even though I've been doing it for almost 20 years, I still look back on it and be like, how did I get here? I'm supposed to be doing something else. So I love to talk about any and all of that you want.
I think that's a David Byrne song, right? Talking Heads.
Yeah.
How did I get here?
Yeah, for sure.
So, yeah, for sure. Yeah. How long have you been playing banjo?
Yeah, that's a great question. I was late to the banjo, and we can talk more about that. But I grew up in Northeast Texas, in a little town called Kilgore, or outside of a little town called Kilgore. It's near Longview, Tyler area, for those of you that are familiar with East Texas. And there wasn't a lot of banjo or bluegrass around there. I think there had been previously. In fact, I was at the Opry the other night, about a month ago, and I was a guest of one of the guys in Scruggs' band, hanging out. And I've known Ricky for a long time, and I was just talking with Ricky and Miss Sharon there, and they actually met at a bluegrass festival in my hometown of Kilgore, Texas, which is really crazy. So I didn't even know that there was a festival there. And I asked my mom about it. I'm like, where's the bluegrass festival in the 70s where Ricky Skaggs met Sharon White? And she goes, I remember as a kid hearing some string music over across the trees one time through a field. And I'm like, you didn't go over there? So she didn't even know about the bluegrass festival. We're a very musical family, but it was more actually classical music was kind of the pedigree that I came from. So I didn't get into it until late into high school. I kind of discovered Doc Watson first, and then Raymond Fairchild, and just kind of gradually tiptoed into the bluegrass world. And so I didn't start playing banjo until I was 19 or 20. I was a student at Texas A&M, and I've been given a banjo by my uncle. Didn't know anybody that played it, and just kind of migrated into it. And so I've been playing now for a little over 20 years. And as everyone says, I should be better, but I'm not.
Did your uncle play banjo?
He did back in the day. He was a really good music. He was a very well-known classical pianist. And then he had dabbled in some string instruments and got an old Fender banjo. And for whatever reason, he had some health issues. It was just tucked away in a closet with some picks, but like no learning materials. And there was no music store around where you could even get that. And there was no pickers around that you could even go and see. So kind of the well-known story, at least in my circles now, and maybe some of you have heard it, maybe not, but I got this banjo and I got these picks, and I was trying to figure out how to play it. I didn't know anybody that played. And so I grabbed the picks, and, if you don't know how to play, you never seen anybody, you put them on like that. I mean, that's just, you think that they're extensions of your fingernail.
Right.
I mean, that's just, if you're honest with folks, be honest with yourself. Don't act, think about if you'd never seen anybody play, how you would put these on. And I put them on like that. And I was trying to play, and they were popping off. Right? I couldn't get them to stay on.
Ripping those strings out, maybe.
Yeah. It's like a bang, ka-bang, and they were flying all over the room. And so I was like, I'm going to go somewhere and find a banjo player, and I'm going to learn how to wear these things, how to play this thing. Because I was getting, I was playing classical guitar, and I was a really good, I say, that sounds horrible. I was a very disciplined, long-time classical pianist. And so I was used to playing at a high level, and it was very frustrating to me. I could only get a few notes out on the banjo. So I went to a bluegrass festival. I found a bluegrass festival, And I thought, the first guy I see, I want to talk to him about playing this. And I saw an older guy on stage, and he was just tearing that banjo up. And I snuck around backstage, and I cornered him. I said, "Sir, I have a question." He said, "What is it?" I said, "How do you keep your picks on?" He said, "What are you talking about?" And I pulled out my picks. I was like, "Look, I put my picks on, and then when I play," and he says, "Give me your hand." And I handed him my hand, and he took my picks, and he spun it 180 degrees.
And
And
he twisted your finger around.
Yeah. He said, "Try that." And I was like, "You're kidding me." He's like, "No, seriously." Well, I was mortified to learn later on that this man that I cornered backstage was none other than JD Crow. And yeah, I was mortified when I came to learn who JD was and what I had done as a grown man. I'm like 20 years old.
Mm-hmm.
And so anyway, fast forward, I don't know, 5-6 years.
Let me just pause for a moment on that. So you met JD Crow. How long were you playing with your picks like that?
I mean, just a few months, probably weeks.
I mean, just pause on that thought for a moment. I mean, you played like that for a few weeks.
Yeah.
And did you get any music out of that?
I mean, no. Like I'd played some classical guitar. I'd taken a couple classical lessons at a local community college at Kilgore College. And so I was applying that same technique. So I wasn't anchoring. I was just trying to hover. I was trying to, pick block like you would classical guitar. It just wasn't working at all. It's quite frustrating. And that's why I was like,
I guess if you were subtle enough, right, you could probably get away with it.
Yeah. And I thought, that's what I thought. Because I tried to kind of start flat picking too, which was a horrible start to that. And so I just thought, well, this is very, very nuanced. And it was such a challenge. That's what kept me going, because I was like, I could hear these records. I could hear Doc, I could hear Raymond, these people. And I thought, this was pre-internet. We got to think about that, or pre-regular person internet. And so I couldn't just get on and watch a video. This is all, by the way, one reason why I tell the story, this is all part of why I do what I do, why I was propelled and compelled into doing what I do, is because I had such a time trying to learn that I told myself, if I ever learn, I'm going to help people that are like me and are dumb like me, to save them some blood, sweat, and tears, hopefully, and encourage them to keep going, because I know it can't be this hard. And it wasn't that hard.
I know why I connect so well with your lessons.
I'm serious. That's like my mission statement, is to help.
You help dumb people.
Yeah. Help people like me. But seriously, I wanted to, if I walked that journey and I found some shortcuts, or I just found some things that weren't necessary to struggle with, if I could just pass on that advice, pass on that knowledge. And that was the genesis of me even starting a YouTube channel way back in 2006. Think about that. That was in the infant stages of YouTube.
Beginning of YouTube, yeah.
Yeah. And that was the whole thing. It's like, if I could save somebody some time. So, the second part of that story is great. I'll just tell it and then we'll jump into your questions. But I go on and I learn to play a little bit. I take some in-person lessons from a guy named Mitch Key in East Texas, who's kind of our local Clayton Delaney, if you know the old Tom T. Hall song. And then I moved out to West Texas. I studied under Alan Mundy for a couple of years. And then I moved to Nashville and I started playing in country bands, because I was a piano player. So I got, I got jobs in Nashville playing piano, but I especially got jobs in Nashville playing piano. Well, like country stuff. I played piano for several different country singers. Craig Morgan, who's a Grand Ole Opry member, various folks I played in their bands. And they hired me because I could also play stringed instruments. And that was a very rare combination in Nashville, was to be able to play both keys and sing harmony and play stringed instruments. So it got me jobs, which is a whole other conversation of making yourself marketable, even if you're not the best in town, which I definitely was not. So eventually I found myself with Taylor Swift playing piano, banjo, guitar, mandolin, dobro, just kind of jumping around like a utility monkey on stage. And we were playing the Stagecoach Festival in California, which is a huge eclectic festival, lots of different musical genres, but a lot of bluegrass, Americana, at least at that time. It's around 2007, 2008. And we're in the hotel, and they have a huge hotel there that's where they put all the artists. So none of the audience folks were there. It's just artists. So it was really interesting to be in the lobby, and you could see everybody walking around. And I was walking through the lobby, and here comes JD Crow in New South through the lobby. And I was like, I've got to do it. I've got to say something, So I stop him, and I say, Mr. Crow, I said, I told him my name. I said, hey, I just got to know if you remember. And I started telling him this story. I was like, it was in Overton, Texas. It was around year 2000, 1999, 2000. I said, I came up to you backstage, and he interrupted me, and he said, yeah, you're the grown man who had his picks on backwards. And I said, you remember? He's like, yeah, I remember. And he says, what are you doing here? And I said, I'm here playing. I'm playing with Taylor Swift. And he says, it worked. My advice worked, So anyway, we kind of struck up a casual friendship. I went on to see him a few more times before he passed away. And me and my sisters had a little band, and we ended up opening for him down in Georgia once, and just having conversations with him here and there. And each time we would kind of revisit that and laugh about that. But, if I could give everybody out there, if I could give you a bit of just wisdom that I've gained over the years, it's to never be afraid to ask questions to anybody. And if you run into somebody that is really truly like judgmental of you for asking a question, then they're really not worth asking the question to anyway. So don't worry about that. What you've got to do is just become humble. Find somebody that knows more about whatever subject that is. We're talking about banjo tonight. Find somebody that knows more about banjo and go to them. Admit that you have maybe a blind spot or you have something to learn, and ask them a question. And that is how I've made my living over the last 20 years in Nashville, is not being afraid to ask questions. And I could spend this 2 hours telling you stories about how I approach people, high profile people, and just ask simple questions about how to do something. And how many of those people told me, I've never been asked that. Why have I never been asked that? I would love to share with you how I play this, or how I do this, or how I've started this. So ask questions. And every time somebody comes to me with a question, I answer it. And again, wrapping back around to what started this whole Banjo Ben thing in 2006 on YouTube was just that. People coming to me and asking questions, and I just continue to ask them. I know that's what Jim Pankey does too, and so many others that are so good for the banjo community. So don't be afraid to ask questions, because nothing can hold you down faster and more strongly than pride can. So.
Well, that's a good segue into asking more questions.
Sure.
For you, I'm not afraid to ask any more questions now. So
yeah.
No. So you've been doing banjobenclark.com. That's your domain you've had since 2006.
I didn't start the website till around 2010 is when I decided I was going to try to do it for a job. But I started YouTube, and that was called Banjo Ben in college. I went to Texas A&M, and it's just
sort of stuck.
I was the only guy around that played banjo, and even at Texas A&M, it was more, country western stuff there. Texas country went a lot of bluegrass. There's more of that there now, but I was the guy at parties that played banjo, so it was Banjo Ben, and I just it stuck.
How long were you playing banjo from the age of 19 until you played professionally? Like how much time was that?
Well, what do you mean by professionally? So
well, with Taylor Swift or
oh yeah, I got you. Yeah. So well, I'll answer that. When I went to when I went out, I went to grad school at A&M. I actually quit at the very end of grad school. I quit grad school. Not necessarily recommended, but it's what I did. And I went out and studied bluegrass for a couple of years. And while I was out there, I got an offer to go to a nearby theater in Lubbock, Texas called Cactus Theater, and to play in some productions there. And I was way over my head. They were doing Smoke on the Mountain. It's a kind of an off-Broadway type production, bluegrass infused production. And that was my first introduction to being a pro player. I sat on the wings of the stage, and I had to play the soundtrack to this recording. And then there's another production up in Canyon, Texas, called Texas, the musical. And I ended up playing banjo for that. And I really cut my teeth there besides what we did at school, because it was a very performance-centric school. They were trying to get you ready to go make a living playing music. So that was 2002 through 2004. So I've been playing 2 or 3 years by the time I went out there. Then I played a couple.
You had the confidence. You had the confidence to say, you know what? What skill level did you think you were at?
You know, when I went out there to South Plains, I was probably lower intermediate, middle intermediate. I was, I mentioned dropping out of grad school is because I was playing way more banjo than I was writing insect physiology papers.
So how many hours a day do you think you?
At that point,
practiced?
I was playing 3, 4, 5 hours a day. Morning, noon, night, and then on the weekends. And
was your goal always to play professionally?
No, I never knew that I was.
Just loved the banjo.
I never thought I was going to play professionally. I was going to be a forensic entomologist, is what I was going to grad school for. And whenever I dropped out, at the encouragement of one of my PhDs that was on my graduate school committee, he pulled me aside. He played guitar, and we had this little jam band, lab band that we would play school functions with. He's like, man, you ought to consider doing this like more regularly. So I didn't know what I was doing. And that was a providential, good Lord plucked me out of there and said, you're going to go on this path. And I was too dumb to know what really was happening. But I still, even when I went out to South Plains, I thought maybe there's a chance of me doing this on the weekends sometime as I farm, as I go back home and farm or whatever. And so I had no clue that I was going to move to Nashville and do this whole thing. So when I went out there, but again, advice number 2, and this goes for anybody. I was talking to one of my buddies / students, Ryan Spillers, good old North Louisiana boy, the other day. He's an engineer, very successful engineer out there in West Monroe, but he got a call to play banjo on this set, on some kind of gig, and it's over his head. And I said, say yes, just go do it. And that's it. Advice number 1, ask questions. Number 2, never say no. Like if you get a challenge to go to a jam, if you get a challenge to sit in with somebody, if you get a challenge to meet up with somebody, never say no, especially if the reason for your no is because you're scared. Like, because you'll never get better if you don't say yes to those things. They're never going to end up as bad as you think they're going to end up. I've had some really bad ones, and it was still not as bad as I thought it was going to be. So just go and take advantage of those things, because it's those experiences, it's those challenges of getting ready for things that really pushes you to get better. So whether it was, just ignorance or zeal, I don't know, but I always said yes. So I'll try that. And I just kept going. And that was part of the reason for just why I ended up doing it professionally, because I was like, I'll try that. I think I can learn that. How long do I have? 24 hours. I don't need sleep tonight. I'm just going to stay up all night and work on it. And I might execute it, I might not. But again, ask questions, find resources. There's wisdom and counsel, and then try it. And don't say no. And that goes for pros or future pros, and that goes for people that work a full-time job and you're wanting to do this on the weekends. Just go. So
it kind of it's kind of what I've been doing with this project.
Yeah, exactly.
Kind of like this, like I don't know what I'm doing, but we'll see how it goes.
Yeah, exactly. And so that's what I did at Cactus Theater. Alan Mundy and Joe Carr, they would ask me, they'd say, hey, I'm going to play a little gig down at a little local coffee shop on Thursday night. Would you come play backup guitar for me? Or would you come play banjo? I'm going to play guitar. Or I'm going to do a little community radio show. And I was so honored that they would ask me, and I want everything inside me said, no, I don't want to. But I said, yes. And I would have to learn things. And then it just kept going. I met my future wife out there. She went on to move to Nashville a year in front of me to go to Belmont. That encouraged me to make the move to Nashville, kind of chasing her, if we're honest, but also just the adventure of trying to be a professional musician. And my goal here when I moved, I'm sitting in Nashville right now, my goal when I moved here was just simply to get paid to play a show somewhere in Nashville. I thought that would be the coolest thing ever. So, and then it just kept going. Every time I would hit a goal, I would say, well, what if I could get on a tour bus? Or what if I could play the Grand Ole Opry? Or what if I could be on TV? And I kept being blessed with those opportunities until life kind of took a turn, which I'm happy to talk about too. And
Yeah, we'll get more into it. We'll have more questions,
Sure.
but maybe we can answer a question down
Yeah.
in the chat.
Yeah, I'll just keep talking. So,
Philip Owens, hey Philip, wants to know what was Ben's first heirloom banjo grade instrument?
Great heirloom, great instrument. I don't know if I own one, Philip. I've been offered. I don't know how much money people think I make, but I've been offered some incredible instruments they're just way out of my price range. But as far as I guess what I would call heirloom, I mean, I consider we had a guitar come through my store on consignment. It's a 2009 Martin D18 Authentic, 1937 Authentic. So it was new in 2009, but they make these Authentic series. It's a really nice instrument. I was able to get a great deal on it. So I would consider that my heirloom instrument. I don't have any vintage instruments. I would love to get one day, but I just haven't been able to get one.
If I keep this twanger long enough,
that's what I have.
If I keep it long enough, it'll be vintage, right?
Here's twanger number 2 right here.
Yeah, this in 50 years, I'm not sure if I'll be around that long, but this will be a nice vintage banjo, right?
Yeah, it will. It sure will. And they're gaining a lot of popularity here recently. It was me and my store staff that introduced that banjo. Helped introduce that through Gold Tone. We went to Gold Tone with the idea. They produced it. We moved a lot of those banjos, but it seems like they're really catching fire now.
I love it.
Yeah, and which is pretty cool to see. When you have an idea and you put a lot of effort into something, just like with trading cards, you see people enjoy the product. That's cool.
All right, let's jump into some of the submissions.
Yeah, I'd love to.
We have about, what do we have, six questions?
Yeah, let's get through them, man.
Yeah, and then we'll ask some more questions and then do some giveaways too. So we have quite a bit to go through still. So let's get started. I'll present a video. I'll attach a video to the screen.
Great.
And let me see, video file. Let's see, Dropbox. Our first one is from Blake Jackson. Blake, if you're on, just say hello because we're going to be presenting your submissions. So here we go.
Hey guys, my question is this: how does one improvise?
Hold on. I need to pause it. Let's see, comments. Okay, and then how do I get rid of this banner? Okay, let me know if you can hear it.
Hey guys, my question is this: how does one
Is it loud enough?
Scruggs style when they don't know the tune at a jam? It seems like if I've already, before the jam, had a 3-finger arrangement worked out, then I can play Scruggs style to it. But off the cuff, on the fly, I can't do it. It seems like I want to use the same finger twice, double thumbing and double indexing when I'm trying to get the notes out. So how can I smoothly improvise totally on the fly in Scruggs style? Thank you all for your time.
So Blake's question is a really, really good one. And essentially what he asked, if you couldn't hear it, is when he goes to improvise in a jam, a new song, and he wants to play the melody and he wants to do it Scruggs style, how does he do that and get the melody notes out? And, what the challenge he's run into is that he finds that he's hitting double thumbs or double index trying to get these melody notes out. First of all, I have to say to Blake, if you're watching this, Blake, or if you're watching it later, is that you have perhaps one of the biggest challenges already licked when it comes to playing banjo. And I'll tell you what that challenge is. The challenge is hearing a melody and knowing where it is on your banjo. That's usually what I have to work with people on, is how to get that melody on your banjo. What it sounds like to me is that you know where the melody notes are. Your problem is playing them in a way that doesn't trip you up, because often those banjo notes, melody notes, will be close together, not only in time, but also in fretboard real estate. Maybe they're following a scale, like something like You Are My Sunshine. So it's walking right up in scale. And you're wondering, how am I going to get all those notes in a row if they're happening really quick and they're also happening really close together on the banjo fretboard? So I just want to encourage you, first of all, that you have slayed a giant beast in being able to hear a melody and play it on the fretboard. For those of you who can't do that, I just want to offer some encouragement to you. Most all banjo songs that you're going to play, especially singing songs, the melody notes, the majority of the time, folks, are going to be open strings. So a lot of times I look at people and I ask them to play melody and they just look at me blankly like, oh, I could never do that. But honestly, if the song's in G, or even if you're capoed, if it's in a G position, your melody notes are going to fall most of the time on open strings. So, for instance, if you take like Amazing Grace. Did you see how many open notes I played to grab almost all those melody notes? My point in that is that when you go to take a solo for a song, that if you just play the chords and play the open strings, you're going to hit some melody notes in there. So go ahead and take a stab at it, right? But for you, Blake, whenever you're asking this question, the number one thing that you need to get used to is not getting so uptight when melody notes don't fall where you want them to hear. Okay? What do I mean by that? The banjo primarily is built off of 3-finger rolls, right? And so if you play those 3-finger rolls, scruggs style 3-finger rolls, we have some other licks thrown in, and you're playing these melodies, it's okay if the melody doesn't fall right where your ear wants to hear them. We have to get used to the idea that a melody note can happen faster or sooner than what you're expecting to hear it. And it can also be delayed, and a melody note can also be ignored if it's not one of the main ones. So let's take a song like I'll Fly Away. The melody is very square. Some glad morning when the stuff is over, I'll fly away. So to play those melody notes right on cue, yeah, I would have to do like a square roll. What do I mean by square roll? That's when I do thumb, index, thumb, middle. And so you can work that out to where it's... And all of those melody notes fell right where they were supposed to. It's not going to fall right where it's supposed to if I were to choose to do a forward roll. But that's okay, because the melody can shift, and it could sound something like this. I won't throw the rolls in there yet, but it could sound something like this. Someday morning, when this life is over, I'll fly away. You hear the difference? Was I still singing the melody to I'll Fly Away? Of course I was. All that I was doing was taking the melody notes and scooting them forward or backwards. The one way to practice this would be to take songs that you know, like I'll Fly Away, and try them with a couple different roll patterns. Like maybe you're used to playing with square rolls, because square rolls fit nice and neat into measures. But what if I was to do it with just forward rolls and just get over with where, just ignore where they fall real? It's hard for me to do it because I keep wanting to go square rolls. Okay, so it does take practice. But again, I'm used to playing all kinds of different versions of I'll Fly Away. But it's a good exercise for you to play through a melody and allow the melody notes to just fall where your fingers fall. After you get comfortable with those melody notes just falling where they fall, or maybe if you even miss them and you just pick up the most important ones, you'll get better and better at doing that on the fly. And that's my answer. I hear Colin's mouse. Where is he? There he is.
There I am trying to find the buttons. So that was awesome. Thank you, Ben. I hope that helped, Blake. Blake, I doesn't appear that you're on tonight, but really appreciate your submission. And what that means is anyone whose questions who were that were presented during this live stream will get a T-shirt from me. So
Yeah.
I'll reach out to you later.
Great.
And we'll hook up and get you that cool Banjo All-Star T-shirt that I just designed recently. So, so we'll get you one of those. Yeah. So thanks again, Blake. That was awesome. Good question. All right. We also have giveaways. So, do we want to do a giveaway?
Yeah, let's do
Does
it.
everyone want something free? You guys like free stuff? It's a little quiet.
It was pretty quiet. Maybe they're just so enamored by my feed store cap that they can't type.
All right. I'll take that as a yes. You like free stuff.
We are still online, right?
Yeah. All right. So I have a website, and if you joined my live stream last month with Jim Pankey and you signed up, you don't have to sign up again. But those who have not signed up, I have the website address here in just a second. I should have saved it and just popped it into the stream.
Thank you, Dwayne.
And let's see, coming up soon. BanjoAllStars.com/giveaway-sign up. I'll post a link here really quick.
What you cooking, Brian? Brian says he's cooking. Hey, Greg. Good to hear from you, buddy. Thanks.
Greg, yeah, it's been about 4 years for me too, off and on with
Oh,
Ben.
that's cool.
Yeah.
Good.
And yeah, now it's nonstop. Practicing every day. I'm working on a song.
Man,
and,
that's great.
Yeah.
That's what it takes. I was talking to my daughter about that because they just started piano lessons with a very well-known and very strict teacher. And she's laid down the law as far as what they're required to practice. And if you don't do it, she drops you. Like there's not really any margin. And we were talking about how it's better to practice a little every day than to just go like once a week and try to play a whole lot once a week. Just whenever you're trying to learn any new skill, it's all about daily routine, and you can tell when you miss a day.
Yeah.
Or a week sometimes.
Last 2 or 3 weeks has been easily an hour a day.
Oh, wow. That's great. That's way more than me. That's
When I first started, it was it was easily 2 or 3 hours a day. But just things got in the way and some discouragement, and we can talk about that when my question comes up.
Yeah, for sure. Brian's cooking beef tacos del bistec, and I just had that for supper. Right.
All right.
All right. So what about the giveaway? What are people winning?
All right. So today, well, like last time, we have these cards. We're giving away these Banjo All-Star Series 1 cards.
Nice.
So you can see these. That's all 42 players distributed within 12 different packs. So in each pack you get a featured limited edition card. So Banjo Ben's in there. We have all players you can imagine. Earl Scruggs, J.D. Crowe, Ralph Stanley, Bill Emerson, Bill Keith, Butch Robbins, Carl Jackson, Don Reno, Sammy Sheeler, Sonny Osborne, Terry Balcom, Tony Trischka,
and more.
And many more, and some that you may not have heard of, but are equally as talented and world-class, in my opinion. So look out for those. You can find out more information about these on my website too, banjoallstars.com.
Yeah. And I'm able to see the comments here. Dwayne invited me on his radio show. I would love to do that, Dwayne. Reach out to me. You can go to banjobenclark.com/contact or /help. You can go to the help page and submit something there. And or you can email me, ben@banjobenclark.com. I'd love to do that.
Yeah, that looks cool. I was Dwayne invited me on his radio show. He
Nice.
interviewed me. Was it last year about these cards? So that was a lot
Very
of fun.
cool.
And I know Jim Pankey's doing a show on their Pankey's Picks.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. So that's cool. I try to catch that as much as I can. All right. Did everyone get a chance to sign up? Let me check how many signups we got. And this is all completely random when I pick a winner. We have, let's see, it looks like we have 7 entries. So the likelihood of one of you will win, or is the odds are pretty in your favor that you're going to win something. So so here's how it works. I'm gonna present my website, and I'll click a button and it'll pop up the winner. So let's see here. Present. Share screen. Banjo All-Stars. Okay. Does everyone see the page here? Probably. Can you see it, Ben?
Yeah.
All right.
Gotcha.
So I'll just click this button, pick random entry.
It's gonna be awkward when I win.
We have Victoria.
Dang it.
Let's see. Is Victoria? Let me try something different here. Victoria.
I mean, nothing against Victoria, but I was hoping I'd win.
Let's see. Those were the entries from a while ago. Let me pick another. She's probably not.
While you're picking, I'm going to answer Greg's question. Yes, many of my camps have claw hammer. In fact, the one that I have starting this Thursday, which you could still come to, is here in Nashville, and it's got a claw hammer class. I think we have 8 students. Well, there's room for 12, so there's still a few spots left. You can go to banjobenevents.com, check out those camps. But I'll have 1 or 2 camps in the fall that have claw hammer, and they're taught by Mr. Dave Dillard, the owner, proprietor, and craftsman behind Nashville Banjo Company. My email is ben@banjobenclark.com. Unless you're a spammer, and then it's Colin@banjoallstars.com. With a Y, Colin with a Y.
Yep, no, Colin with an I. So the way this works is if you're not, you have to be on the live stream to accept your prize. So Victoria, if you're not on tonight, I apologize, but we need to pick a different winner. So
let's pick another one.
Yeah, pick another one. Hey, it's me.
I knew it. I knew it was rigged.
We'll try this again. Jameson, are you here? Jameson joined us last month. He had some good, and I think he has a question again. This I'm not sure. Maybe I'm confused, but Jameson, are you here tonight? No? Let's see. Give it a couple minutes. Jameson, come on. Let's see here. No Jameson.
Pick another one.
All right, we'll do another one.
Either going to be Brian or Dwayne or RB45 or Greg.
Keely. And I'm not sure she's here tonight either, but she was in last month's. I might have to rethink how I do these.
That's right. We'll just pick somebody from the chat. Randomly.
Yeah, I'll pick somebody. I'll just pick the first one that popped up. It's Greg.
There you
Greg
go.
at gmail.com. I don't want to say your entire email address, but Greg, if you're on here, give us a shout out and say,
Greg
hey, that's me.
Corbin, he won.
Yes. All right.
I think we have
Greg.
enough prizes to pick just about everybody that's active in the chat. So
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
Let us press on.
Yeah. Thanks, Greg. That's all yours. We'll be sending these out to you. So I'll reach out to you after this, either tonight or tomorrow morning. So thanks a lot.
I know who you are, Emily. Hey, Emily. Good to see you. She's one of my favorite people. Lone Wolf there. Emily, she's from Florida and also Missouri. And she's awesome. Great picker. She has a twang or two, like me. And one of my cabin campers and Go Peak members. Glad you're here.
Did you say what her name was? Emily?
Emily Dunn. Yeah, she's Lone Wolf is the username.
Oh, Lone Wolf. Okay, I see.
John Mark Oliver, he wants to know when you'll have an All-Star shirt with my picture on it. He already has several shirts with my picture on it. He's just fishing. You can move on.
All right. Well, I can make them available. So before we check out the next submission, we can I might have a couple more questions for you.
Yeah, sure.
So you've been doing banjobenclark.com professionally, like full time, for as long as you started it, or did it start out as a part time, like a side hustle?
Yeah, it's kind of a side hustle
now.
Side hustle for just a little while, but yeah, I mean, I think I started the company, like actually filed the paperwork like in 2011 or so, and was still just working part-time jobs and teaching school.
Teaching?
I taught a lot of substitute school teacher and
music related or just academic?
No, I love math and science, so I got in with a couple of good schools that I could coordinate with the teachers there and actually get to teach, which was fun. So I kept doing that, and I also have my CDL driver's license, and when I was out on the road with the different artists I play for, I would also relief drive the tour buses and just make extra money, which was a lot of fun. And so whenever it's a long story, but when I came off the road from playing, I signed a publishing deal writing songs for Sony Publishing. And I also would drive tour buses on the side. And I also worked at the Grand Ole Opry and the gift shop and just all kinds of taught school, just hustling, you know how you have to do. And so I still did all of that up and through starting my website. And it was probably a year or two into starting my website that I was able to make it full time. I'd say around 2012. That was, but my wife was still working.
Right. I see. She had the health insurance.
Yes, she sure did. Yep.
I know how that goes. So did you feel like you had any special skills or talents when it comes to teaching in general? Obviously, you were a substitute teacher.
Yeah,
or you were doing some teaching.
I think that I've been gifted how to teach, and that's in no way a braggadocious statement. I think that teaching is a talent that that people are gifted with in some degree, just like if you are, any other kind of talents that you might be, granted by your creator. So that was not only maybe not so much a gift for it, but a passion for it. I think that'd be a better way to put it, because it had to be developed, and so even when I was little, anytime I learned something, I would like to try to show other people how to do it. And I got a joy out of seeing someone else learn how to do something. It makes me happy. And then when I went into grad school at A&M, I got a teaching fellowship, and I love that. I taught undergrad classes at A&M and taught some labs. And that was just so fun. That's when I really probably developed my systematic ways of teaching, because there were biology classes and I had to be very, very systematic. And And then I had little sisters that wanted to learn how to play. So every time I learned something on an instrument, I would go back home and teach it to them in a way that they could understand. So it was being developed along the way.
When you develop it, though, don't you have to have some way to measure whether or not you're improving your teaching skills? How would you measure that, and did you measure it?
Yeah, that's a great question. I guess off of positive and negative reinforcement. So I've learned a lot from the comments on YouTube. I've learned which ones to ignore too. But I've learned.
Yeah, I thought that. I just instinctively thought that was funny because it's like YouTube comments are.
Well, yeah, people are really brave when they're not looking at you face to face and they have no chance of getting their nose bloodied. They're really brave, and we've learned that, right? But also, it's even the ones that sting can be helpful, and I learned to humble myself and read all of them and try to take stuff out of that that's helpful. And for instance, though I'm not demonstrating it well tonight, brevity was a really big thing that I learned, is how to get to a point and not linger. And that's also a big part of marketing too, is just showing, telling people what you're going to teach them what you told you're going to teach them. And then after you teach them, tell them what you told them that you were going to teach them. And if you do that and you do it in a way that people can understand, then I think you're a pretty good teacher, as long as you can demonstrate that too. The other thing that I learned too, just over the years, is that I thought that I was going to have to teach way more than what I actually have to teach. If you look back at my early YouTube videos, I was always trying to pull off the hardest stuff. I thought that it was a competition, even though there weren't many teachers on YouTube back then. But I thought it was all about people were judging me about what kind of player I was. So I was trying to teach the most ridiculous, just fast stuff that I was, hard stuff. I look back on some of my earliest lessons on YouTube, and it would take me a year or two to learn that stuff I was trying to teach people that were trying to learn.
Oh wow!
So I remember
you would learn a particular lick or a song.
I was on the
purpose of
well, not really. I was on
video.
Well, no, I was on the road at that time, and I was a lot hotter picker back then. First of all, when I first moved to Nashville, I was probably the fastest, hottest as far as playing goes that I've ever been. And nothing like moving to Nashville to destroy your chops. No, but whatever, I was playing on the road, and I was being challenged all the time in a professional musician setting. I was playing some really fun stuff, and I thought that was the kind of stuff that people wanted to learn, was the stuff that was challenging to me and hard to me, and I thought, well, I'm supposed to be a pro. I'm playing with all these artists that people have heard of, so I've got to be playing stuff that, people would really, really want, that I would want to learn. It's like, if I didn't know this lick yesterday, would I want to learn it? Heck yeah, I would. But what I didn't understand was I was teaching to a top tier. If you think about learners, like a wedding cake, like a multi-layered, tiered wedding cake, I was trying to teach to that top tier, where I resided. But honestly, those people don't really need people showing them they're figuring it out too, And so what I realized is that there was way more people that needed attention and help down on the bottom. So it took me just time to learn to address those folks. And then I think that's where I really blossomed as a teacher, because we talked about earlier that that I didn't start playing banjo till I was a grown man. So the challenges, the physical and the mental challenges to learning how to play banjo were very fresh with me. They didn't happen when I was 5, 6, 7, 8 years old.
You can empathize a little bit more.
Totally. Like, I could vividly remember what it was like to try to get my middle finger to do that one thing. Like, it wasn't a distant memory. I wasn't having to imagine it. I'm like, I know it. When you're trying to choke that's hard to choke. You need to put that finger back behind there and give it, because I remembered, like, it was just a few years ago. So being in touch with my journey really helped me as a communicator and as a teacher.
Great. Yeah. So do you think did you start really quick before we move on to another submission? Let's move in more into sort of your business hat. Mm-hmm. So you've gone from being a musician and sort of evolved into now like a businessman. You're running a business, right? And how do you think that has changed or molded the way you approach teaching?
Wow. Look at you and your $1 million questions. So one thing that being a businessman has done, it has hurt my playing, me personally. Anybody that starts a small business and runs a small business that gets busy at all knows how much work it is. And so over the course of years, I've been able to play less and less because it's more about answering emails and marketing and taxes and just accounting and all the things that it requires to run a successful, or try to grow a business. And so, for many years I survived on just kind of the margin of playing that I had, like the charge that I had coming into it, and I wasn't feeding it for a long time. And actually, just being really honest, it's just been recently that I've started recharging that battery, that I've finally gotten to a place where I'm able to get some help me edit videos, because for the vast majority of the time that I've been doing this, well over a decade, I was it. It's only been a year or two that I've been able to bring in any help. And so I can legitimately say I've had 10 years of 70, 80-hour weeks every week. Every week. And if I want to take a week off, then that means a few weeks of 90 and 100-hour weeks on each side of that week that I take off. And that's just the way it's the sacrifice that I make, but I've been blessed through it. It's been a fun journey. But how has it affected my teaching by being a businessman? To answer your question, I think that it's been a challenge on my teaching to be a businessman. And I think that I've so there's that part of it, just the mental and the physical time challenges. At the same time, it has pushed me into trying to find, of course, the most marketable things to teach.
Right.
Now, at the same time, I want to say that from the very beginning, Colin, I knew when I first got started in this thing in 2006, that's when I started playing for Taylor Swift. When I started playing for Taylor Swift in December of 2006, she was a brand new artist. She was 17 years old, barely 17. She turned 17 that January. And she had her first single out. When I quit playing for Taylor 2.5 years later, she was 19, 20 and the #1 selling artist in the world in 2.5 years. And I rode that with her. It was unbelievable. We went from me and her in a van driving from Philly to Reading, Pennsylvania, doing radio tours, to me getting on her Falcon jet and flying to do the Houston Livestock Show radio and being back in bed the same night and going to Australia and everywhere else. So I saw the whole thing. It was amazing. And I knew that if I wanted to get popular, all I had to do was say, I'm the banjo player for Taylor Swift. Here's how you play all these songs. And I knew that I could get millions of views. But it became a challenge to me. The challenge was, am I able to make a way for myself without name dropping and without teaching the things that the clickbait? And so if you look back over the history of my teaching, it's all public domain. I taught some scruggs stuff in there, and I stopped even doing that just because of copyright issues. And I want to do everything ethical, and I don't want to get sued. But otherwise, it's public domain, it's techniques, it's my own curriculum, and it's like gospel arrangements, which I have a heart and a passion for. So I guess I want to say that being a business guy, if I was truly looking at just numbers, I would be doing things a lot different. I'd be clickbaiting it. And I don't feel like that I do that. I'll do several weeks in a row of kind of obscure gospel numbers.
I think what I was getting at was that as a business owner who's, your duty, you have a responsibility, right, to stay in business, right? And so
that's what my wife says.
Right. There's a difference between someone on YouTube who's offering their content for free, which is really valuable, and I'm very thankful for those everyone who does that. That's really incredible. I don't know what I would do without that.
I did it for a long time, and I still do.
Yeah.
Part of my business
I think
model.
there's something changes. There's a certain level of responsibility that you have to take on when you start charging for courses, right? And so that responsibility sort of, I believe, informs the way you teach, because now you have to have students who how do I phrase that? Get what they pay for.
Yeah. Oh yeah, right? That's a huge burden.
So like if students are not understanding your courses, or not doing well in your classes, well, you're doing something wrong, right? And so if you were doing that for free, you wouldn't have the level of responsibility to say, I should do something about that, right? Whereas if you're charging for it, well, then now you got to look at it and go, oh, I got to figure something out. My students are telling me they don't understand what I'm doing, and now I really got to dig in and figure out how to change my.
So I think that level of awareness of being able to produce something that's understandable and that hits your demographic, hits the spectrum of your demographic. Because your demographic, my demographic is very wide. I teach multiple levels. I teach multiple genres. I teach multiple instruments. So I'm having to do this all the time. Boom, like a sprinkler. I'm having to keep the whole garden watered. And I'm having to think about, how long has it been since these onions over here, mandolin players, how long has it been since they've gotten watered, right? And I come back around, and that's why I rotate every week. I rotate banjo, mandolin, guitar for the most part. Sometimes I make exceptions to that. At the same time, there's a balance there, because I'm not going to be ruled by the dollar. And if you are able to be ruled by the dollar, I think it will destroy you in numerous ways, because I will never be able to, I don't know. I think that I would always be thinking about, what can I do to make the most amount of money, rather than what's the most musical, what's the most fun, and what am I most passionate about, and what do I think people need to learn, even if they don't know they need to learn it. And that's what I try to do. Sometimes I'm like, we're learning theory this week. And people are like, theory. I'm like, I don't care what you say about theory, but I'm telling you, as your teacher, you need to learn this theory, and you're the one that's paying me. So do you respect what I'm saying or not? And if you respect what I'm saying, then you need to listen. And if you want to go learn something else, go learn something else. So, I have to be very.
So rather than try to mold your courses and your style to fit the needs of just anyone who comes in, you're more of like a selection process. Like, here's how I do it. Come on board if you want.
Right? Yeah. And I have the confidence and the trust that what I love to teach, what I'm passionate about, strikes a chord with enough people out there, and that I communicate it in such a way that it's going to be enough people for me to do this for a living. And that's the way it's been for a decade. And I could sell out. I'm not saying that anybody out there is doing that, but I know that I could become much more marketable by teaching certain things than what I teach, but I'm just not passionate about those. And I think it's maybe not as valuable in various ways. So I've got to love what I do. And I've been in places in my career, Colin, where I don't love what I do, where I'm just kind of punching the clock. I know what that feels like, both in this job and in other jobs. That's how it was with Taylor Swift. I was punching the clock a lot of times. I didn't like that music. There's a lot of things I'm thankful for about that job, but I didn't dig the music. I can't even hardly sing you a single chorus that I played 1,000 times. So I don't want to be in that position if I'm doing this every day for a living. I want to be in a position where I'm passionate about what I'm teaching. And whenever that passion of mine lines up with the passion of my students, and I help test their vision, and then they're successful in reaching it, and everything comes together. And that's what it's all about there. I think any teacher, like, that's what they're after. They're not after just making a living. My grandma was a lifelong educator, and that's what she was about, was like seeing people like lighting a passion in people for something that they don't even know they should have a passion for, and then helping them learn that. And then, so not only are they thanking you for learning it, they're thanking you for a new passion. How important is that? I think that's a double whammy.
Yeah. So I just look at it as, in terms of being able to provide value, right? If somebody's giving you value in terms of, monetary rewards, you want to return that value, right? And so I think,
and I understand the free market, and I understand that I'm not for everybody, and there's a lot of options out there. And
really quickly, you have videos on your site going back, what, 10 years, right? I'm currently learning one that's 9 years old. It feels up to date, in my opinion. It just feels like you probably did it last month, right?
Wow.
I mean, I can look at your videos, and yeah, I do see. I sense definitely an evolution in how you approach them. But I really, really like your start with the melody first series, the
build breaks. Yeah.
Build the breaks.
Yeah.
That when how do you decide? Like, I don't see those anymore, and so was there a reason why you choose, like, oh, I'm going to do build the breaks, or I'm going to do what do you call them, pick-alongs?
Yeah. Well, actually, I would say, I have so many different series that I do that I've found are really, really helpful. My last build a break, just looking at, I've done 4 build a breaks over the last year.
Over the last year. Okay.
Yeah. So when you think about that, so, almost one out of 12 lessons is a build a break.
Roundabout. Okay. Is that across all 3 of your instruments?
Exactly. So that's what I'm juggling. Yeah. Right. and the pick-alongs have been so popular, and I just want to give a shout out if he's still here. There's a guy on here, John Mark Oliver, dear brother of mine, and he's the one that initially spurred me on to a pick-along video idea. He encouraged me, and so pick-alongs are just like virtual jams, and I thought about that for a long time, but he's the one that really pushed me. And so they've just been so popular that I've just kind of made a promise to myself, and it's part of my picking journey too, to try to make one of those once a month. And I make them once a month, the ones that are 6 weeks. And now I've started last month, but I'm starting incorporating well-known players into those pick-alongs, like they're jamming with me. So last month was Kenny Smith. Next month, Cody Kilby's coming by, and I'll bring in these various hey JMO, I'll bring in these various pickers to kind of see what we would do from a jam perspective. And there's instructional jams is what they are. So, but to answer your question, I have a big spreadsheet of all my content and the different themes of lessons and such. And I have around a 20-page document at 12 font of requests that I've received, just one after the other. And they're not all doable, but I record all the ones that seem viable, and then I'll go through and filter. And there's just so much to teach, and again, I'm coming back around, and come back to your question, I am asking the marketability question. I'm asking the value question, but I'm also asking just as much weight, what my passion is, if I'm excited about it, and if it's useful, because sometimes I'm really excited about stuff. You'll see those lessons floating around the site where I'm really excited about something, but would you ever really play it? Probably not. It's like I'm getting ready to go to Mexico a couple times this year on mission trips. I'm learning all these really cool Mexican songs. I want to play them all the time, but they're not going on the site, because I am a businessman.
Start a new domain.
Yeah. Banjo Benito. Yes. .com. BanjoBenito.com. But but build breaks are some of my favorite because they're real life. And what I tell people about build breaks, because I start with the basic melody, and then I talk about and show how I would take a basic melody and grow it into a solo that I would be really proud of. So usually they have 3 levels. And I have a lot of people tell me, actually, that I've started recommending it, that people listen to these lessons driving to work like podcasts. Like they don't even have their instrument in their hands. They're not looking at the tab. that the instruction, the verbal instruction and the audio examples that I give are enough for them to find it valuable to listen to hear, yeah, here's the basic melody. Here's the basic melody placed in a forward roll. Here's a basic melody placed in a forward roll and adding the scruggs lick on the end of it. You know, so I've been really flattered by that the content, people feel that it's so valuable that they don't even have to have their instrument in their hand. I actually hear that a lot, which is pretty cool.
Well, awesome. Let's jump into some more questions. Jameson is finally here. Thanks.
Hey, Jameson. Thanks for finally getting here. Good to finally see you, Jameson.
Yep. You almost won something again.
Where have you been, Jameson? Probably playing mandolin somewhere.
He's a good 14-year-old banjo player.
I bet he is.
Yeah.
There's a lot of those.
All right, let me load up another question. Oh, we have Dan Kinter.
Okay, come on, Dan. Lay it on me, Dan.
First of all, great shirts from the Banjo All-Stars. The logo shirt, I love it. Thank you, Colin. And
shout out.
Ben, my question is about pick noise, which I cannot seem to get rid of. And of course, but when I do with this, it probably won't really be noticeable. It's mostly on the first string for me. How do we get rid of it? You can hear it there. The pick noise is is one of my big problems. It drives me crazy, and I don't know how to stop it. Maybe you can help. Thanks.
Oh, there's no maybe about it, Dan. So first of all, Dan, great question. Good plan. You're way more sensitive about that pick noise than I am, and more sensitive about it than anybody else. It's louder to you. I just want to tell you, it's louder to you than it is to me, and it's louder to you than anybody else. That's not to say that there's not something to fix about it. Most of the time, whenever we have pick noise, the reason is because of the angle that we're hitting the string with our pick. So it would make sense. So you would think that whenever you put on a pick, that you would put it on straight, meaning that the blade of the pick would go right in the middle of the fleshy part of your finger. But that's actually not what we do, because we want to try to have more of a perpendicular angle of contact with the string. That means that the middle part of this blade right there is, we would like for it to contact the string. We don't want the pick to contact it on the edges like that. Well, when you look at, whenever you're playing the banjo, let me move aside the mic here. We notice that we don't have a lot of parallel angles happen here. So I've got my banjo and it's cocked up toward the sky. Sometimes more people, more than others, depending on who's playing. A lot of times I see people playing like this. I encourage them not to do that, but I've got it sitting at about 25 or 30 degree angle there. So it's not perpendicular to parallel to the floor. It's kicked up a little bit. So my string angle, doing that. And now I've got my hand that's playing these strings, and it's going this way. It's going like 25 degrees in the other way. So in a perfect world, we would have a string that's parallel to the floor, and we would have a finger that's perpendicular to the floor, and it would pick it at this great 90-degree angle. But we don't. We have this. So what we do to counter that a little bit is we're going to spin our picks. Now, I do mine fairly, I emphasize it quite a bit. You see the radius on my pick? My middle pick. I mean, there's probably a 20, 25-degree angle on there. And the reason why I do that is so that whenever I play my banjo, that spinning, which I'm spinning it toward my pinky, causes my pick to have more of a perpendicular angle to my string, getting a better tone and getting less pick noise. For instance, if I were to straighten out my picks, I've never tried this before, or at least not recently. and I were to play, that's the tone that I would get on my middle finger. And as I'm looking at it, it's straight on my finger. I'm looking at it, and I'm playing off the side of this pick. But if I take that pick and I twist it a little bit to where I get more of the middle of the pick on my string, you hear the difference in the volume and the tone. So some of your pick noise, and I'm answering this question for you, but I'm also answering it for all the other situations that are perhaps existing by the people present in this chat. Part of your pick noise is that your picks may not be twisted enough and that you're playing off the side of your pick. Now, beyond that, we have all other kinds of variables. We've got string materials and we've got pick materials. And certain metals, when rubbed against other certain metals, have different frictions about them. So there's been people that have come up with solutions to this, namely cobalt plated picks. So I know that Dunlop makes a cobalt plated pick. I sell them in my store. Also, Bob Perry is a famous pick maker, and I think just about all of his picks are cobalt plated. So if you search in my general store or anywhere else, you'll see cobalt plated picks. They're a slicker metal, and they don't create as much friction against the string. It's supposed to create a more smooth experience. I know a lot of great players who play Bob Perry picks, so I would invite you to not only address your pick angle, but also your pick plating material. Tag, you're it, Colin.
What do you think of Ernie Ball picks?
What do I think of Ernie Balls?
The picky picks.
Oh yeah, I think they're pretty cool.
Isn't it? Does that solves that problem too, right?
Yeah, I think so because the shape does. Yeah.
You can attack it at any angle. You just have the one touch point, right? There's no And I know Jim Pankey is a big fan of those. He uses those.
Well, if Pankey does it, then you should probably do it. I don't use those.
I tried them. I tried them. It takes some while to get used to for sure.
Yeah.
But
I personally use a semi-Sheeler picks. I like them because they're rounded.
I have some of those, but
some people like them. Some people don't.
I've been buying all kinds of different picks to see. I'll present my question here in a while, but it relates to the right hand picking and stuff. But
let's do another one.
I've been down this journey of trying to find the right. I was thinking, maybe I just have the wrong picks, and so I've been buying Sammy Sheeler picks and all these different picks. So I just realized now I'm not even going to go down that path anymore.
That's part of the fun of being a banjo player is all the gear.
So, do you want to do a giveaway?
Yeah, sure.
I heard that you might have something here.
Yeah, let's give away. This is a big time. Let's do a $50 gift card to a general store.
$50.
Yeah, $50.
Nice. All right. If you guys have just joined, you just go to my website, banjoallstars.com/giveaway-sign up if you have not signed up already, and we'll get your name in there. I'll post that in the comments. Just head on over there.
While they get signed up there, let's answer another question, and then we'll come back around and draw.
Yeah, sure. Open up the file. And thanks, Dan. That was a good question. I think we all agree that it's a very
hope that helps you, Dan.
Big problem for a lot of us. We have Gordon. Let's see. Yeah, he just texted me, and he doesn't have a video submission, but this is part. I added this to the video. Sorry, yeah, this is him. Ben would do a little up the neck.
Awesome, Gordon. So, first of all, I have to say it's really tasty, and I can
Very
tell.
tasty.
Yeah, I can tell that you're a musical guy by playing that.
By the
I'll
way,
also-
he's
yeah.
also an artist. The paintings behind him are his.
Yeah,
his
well, that
artwork.
doesn't surprise me either because that sounded very artistic and tasty. And it's different. And the reason why it's different, as I was listening, is that's not typical banjo timing, which I think is cool. So is actually we might call cut time or half time, but what he's done there with that melody of "You're My Sunshine" is he's cut it in half, sped it up twice. So normally, when you would play "You're My Sunshine" on banjo, you would play the melody half as fast and throw a lot more rolls in there. It would be right. Whereas he's playing that melody on eighth notes instead of quarter notes and half notes, which makes it kind of a challenge. It's really beautiful, but it makes it a challenge to play it scruggs style because the melody notes are happening so fast together. So if I was going to go up the neck and play that, then I would have to think about it way differently than if I was, that's wouldn't match your version. So I would have to think more spacing. And do some more thumb over type stuff and throw some more space, slow it down. And what I'd like to do for you is I'll just draw out a little tab of what I would do in that style. And I'll send it to Colin, and Colin can send it over to you and see what you think about it. So, but yeah, really, really cool. It's not something that I would play, but it's something that I would like, and I do like. So, great job.
Yeah, thanks, Gordon. We'll get those tabs out to you, and so I really appreciate you jumping on and giving us that question. Let's see. All right, let's do the giveaway. We'll do that right now. So again, that's $50 at the general store,
and you get free shipping with $49. So this is not only $50. This is $50 plus free shipping.
Nice.
I really didn't think that out very well.
All right. Hopefully we'll pick someone who's actually in the chat. Actually, we'll do this manually. Sorry, we won't go through that again. We'll do looks like Brian Bauer.
Brian Bauer. Congratulations, Brian Lee Bauer. Mimic Music. Got $50 in my general store, which will buy you a blue chip thumb pick or some Sheeler picks, or just about get you a Huber strap, or it won't get you anywhere close to an Elliott Capo, but you can put it toward an Elliott Capo. But $50 will be a lot. Philip wants to know, I think I've seen this question a couple times, so I want to answer it. If Ben could only play one banjo for the rest of his life, which one would that be? I would assume that you mean banjos that I own, right? So that's a complicated question. I would have said before last week, I would have said my Yates banjo. That's a copy of J.D. Crow's old RB75 Flying Eagle. And so it says Gibson on the headstock. A lot of people think that it's, a Gibson, but it's actually a Yates banjo, and it's outstanding. However, last week I got a Granada banjo from Tim Davis Banjos, and I've really loved it. It's on the way back up here to Tennessee. I got it in Texas. It's being hauled to me tomorrow, and I might have to spend the rest of my life with that. We will see.
That's not the Butch Robbins model, is it?
No, it's actually a Granada, just a straight up historical Granada model. Butch Robbins model is excellent too. But Jim made me two banjos, and I'll go ahead and announce it here. I haven't told anybody, but I am the Davis banjo dealer, the only Davis banjo dealer going forward. And so we're going to, here in 2 or 3 months, he's going to have me a pretty steady supply of Davis banjos. I love Tim and just the kind of person he is and all. And his banjos have really impressed me. So he made me that Granada to sell. It's not getting sold. It's staying with me. So I'll have another Granada in a couple months. And you're not going to find another Granada for that price. It's kind of silly. It's like a Granada for around $4,000. And the guys who are like helping him build these are building the same banjos for $6,000, $7,000. They're just doing this on the side. So it's kind of a no-brainer. Anyway.
Cool. Let's jump on another question.
Yeah.
Let's see. Rodney Curtis is a friend of Banjo All-Stars. He's been around for a while. Actually, can you hear it? Can everyone hear it? It's pretty quiet on my end.
We're reading. Rodney, thank you. So the question was, for those who couldn't hear it, he's been advised to put more arch into his wrist, and he's wondering if that would help him, and he played a little bit there. I think that it would, but let me say a couple things. The reason why people would say to put more arch in your wrist is because they've seen people that are really good at banjo have more arch in their wrist. So let's just be honest. We're talking about JD mainly, and others as well. But there's some really good players that have more of a flat angle too. Not everybody has the old JD claw, out there. So let's think about the mechanics though. Like, what happens when you put more arch into your wrist? What does it do? Let's think about what the fingers have to do. I think about it, and the arch in the wrist. What does that do to your pick angle? I guess what it would make you do is be able to pick the strings with less movement in your fingers. And so it'd be more of a natural movement inward versus maybe trying to play up. So I think it could be helpful there. But I see let me just say that I see other things in how you play, and I would love to be able to spend some time with you, just one-on-one. And if you're watching this, if you want to spend like 30 minutes just on a private Zoom call, I'd like to offer that to you because I see some other things in your form that I would want to fix before the arch. I think that's okay to try the arch. But a couple things that I see that you need to work on that I would recommend you working on is when it comes to the right hand, I'm seeing quite a bit of movement along the head of the banjo. I need to watch again, but I think I saw you're not muting or you're not posting up with your ring finger. That's fine. I think a lot of people post with their ring finger when they shouldn't. And because Earl did it, they think they have to, but that's just not the case. And so I saw your ring finger moving freely, I think, with your middle finger, and that's good that you're not posting it because that would create more tension. But I also saw that your pinky had some movement in it along the head of the banjo. So it tells me that you're not really putting any pressure toward it. And yes, you can put too much pressure on your pinky, but I do think that your pinky should be on the banjo head solid enough to where you're not being moved by the pressure of your fingers. So when you go to play a string, if that's pulling your head, if that's pulling your hand along the head of the banjo, then we're not pressing quite hard enough. Sorry, with our pinky. It's like, because my pinky is the rod. Now, I'm not pressing so hard that it's hurting my tone. I'm not pressing so hard that I don't have the freedom to move up. But the other thing, I don't have a big arch like JD. I've got kind of more of a flatter, not so flat that I feel the bridge with the palm of my hand. You wouldn't want to do that. But the other thing that I would encourage you to do is with your left hand. And what I saw was, I couldn't help but notice, you're mounting your finger, your thumb, actually on the back of the neck like this, and you're coming way out, and it's hurting you. Don't do that. What I want to see you do is cradle the banjo neck right there on that joint of your finger. Okay? And it's just resting there easily. You really shouldn't be supporting the neck of your banjo. Your strap should do that, or your legs. I was really holding the banjo. So it's just riding there lightly to where you can easily slide up and down the banjo neck. And your thumb is just going to rest right along the top. For most things, every once in a while, if I'm stretching really big, I will post up to help me get that stretch. But when I'm just playing normal stuff, my thumb's just hanging out over the top. And what you're doing is creating a lot more work and big angles for your wrist. Your fingers are doing a lot of work here. So we need to work on your left hand. That's probably what I'd spend a half hour with you, is to fix that left hand. Comes to your right hand, don't worry about the arch right now. We're going to worry about getting a better post with your pinky and get that left hand under control. And I saw some tension, really some tension developing in your right hand that I'd want to work with you with. So be encouraged. There's a lot of low-hanging fruit in your playing that we're going to grab and capture, and we'll peel and eat, and you'll move forward. So I'll see you soon, Rodney. Reach out to me, Ben at banjobenclark.com. We'll get that on the calendar. I'm holding a cabin camp for the next few days, so I won't be seeing you for the next week. But after that, we'll get together, buddy.
Good deal, Rodney. Look at that. A nice invite. That's really good. Very good, helpful advice too, because I think a lot of people struggle with that kind of stuff is on the right hand, and positioning, or always question. They see, like you said, they see all their banjo heroes positioning their hands a certain way, and like I should be able to play like that, right? It's like
everybody's made different. Like we all have a lot of things in common, but the way that we're knit together at this, at the most basic levels are very different. For instance, my hands won't even straighten out all the way. I have a congenital condition, but that's as much as my fingers will straighten out. It's got a big, long, fancy name for it. I had to go to the hospital as a kid and have braces made for my hands, but so I can't play the banjo the way that my heroes played it. I've had to find other ways because of how I was knit together to approach this instrument. And so I think we sometimes we put ourselves through unnecessary hurdles and burdens by trying to play it in a way that we saw. There's a balance there. Yeah. You do want to put your fingers where other people have put them before, and copy the greats to a point. And then you got to start asking, some physiological questions and do what's best for you.
Yep. All right. Anybody have any questions in the chat?
I see one I want to answer. I see
Which
one. How about making a monthly calendar with glamour photos like you did for the back cover of Bluegrass Unlimited? That's in the works, actually. That will be in 2024. Check out February. That's all I can say. Check out February.
That's real?
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Nice.
Yeah. Have you seen my February glamour photo? Okay. Well, I'll text it to you later. You don't want your pinky against the bridge, because your bridge is the conductor of the tone, Tom. So I know that there's good players out there that do that, but you want as much energy transferred from your strings to the head of your banjo through that bridge. It's the conduit. So whenever you touch it with flesh is not a conductor of energy.
I think I saw a video. He's one of the All-Stars I selected. I'm really happy to have found him and chosen. But John Apfelhaler, I hope I pronounced his name correct. He did a video talking about how he positions his hand. And if you notice, if you spot him on YouTube, you're going to look at him and you go, wow, what a tremendous player. I mean, the speed and the precision is unmatched. But he does hold his hand in a very particular way, where it looks a little odd, and so he did a video explaining that. But I think he does touch the bridge a bit. I mean, he's like really out there, and he's almost like parallel to the ground. The banjo is parallel to the ground, and he's like this. He plays like this, but he had to, and he's got his picks really twisted in order to make them. But it sounds, I mean, he's able to get really great tone, and like you said, there are exceptions to the rule.
I would say though, when it comes to my advice, you need to take my advice, because you should always take advice from people who dress like that.
Screenshot this quick. Screenshot it before it goes away.
You don't have to do that. All you have to do is have been a subscriber to Bluegrass Unlimited. Dell Ann Bradley was the very fortunate cover artist to have this work of art on the back. I bet she's so proud. She showed her parents. She was like, look, I made the cover. And they're like, oh, cool. And then they turned it over.
What kind of rag is this?
Yeah, what kind of rag is this? I'm sorry, Dell Ann. I'm sorry.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
Well, congratulations.
Oh, thanks. All right, moving on. Am I going to do another album with my sisters? Philip asked that. Do you mind? I'm sorry. I'm cherry picking questions over here as I see them. I'm sorry. I don't mean to interrupt your stream.
No, let's do it.
That's a great question. I actually just moved back to spending most of my time on the farm in Texas, which is near where my sisters live. In fact, my sister Katie lives in a little farmhouse 500 yards from my back door. I can hit her porch with a 22. Just ask her, and so we're playing more, and I think that an album altogether will probably follow in the future, which is really cool.
Yeah,
exciting for me.
Yeah, cool. Dean RB45 has a question.
Yep. Yeah. Okay. Pinky has no stability. I would just need to see it. Like, I don't know why it doesn't have stability. I don't know if it's a strength issue, or if it's a joint issue, or if it's a technique issue. That's something that I would have to see video of. But I would hope that if you've done that before, that you could develop that again. I would guess that it's a stability issue and a strength issue, because you've been laid off for 15 years. So something that we can develop back. I think there's hope there, Dean.
Don't you sell those little stickers you put on?
Yeah, they're little guides, little pinky guides, and that would help keep your pinky in there. I don't want it to be too much of a crutch for folks. And I do have to say that, and I've got a disclaimer on there, that certain type heads, it can peel a little bit of the frosting off whenever you peel them off. It's rarely an issue. I just want to throw that out there. But they do help if you've got that sliding pinky going on. I would just use it as a tool, kind of like tab. Use it as a tool to learn, and then you would want to take it off, because you don't want it to become a crutch. So,
yeah. Hopefully that works for you, Dean.
Yeah.
I've used them in the past, but
or come over to my forum, which is a really cool place to hang out. Go to my forum, take a video of yourself, post it. I'll answer you there. That's what we do over there.
Cool. Lone Wolf, Emily.
Emily.
Yeah.
First of all, play some of my melodic bag of licks. I've got an intro to melodics lesson, which is really fun, where I just take you through a basic melodic scale and create a drill for you to get more familiar with that, and then go to my banjo section on the website and type in melodic into the search bar, and it will pull up dozens of lessons that I've done with little melodic pieces in there. and start working those in. Some of them are full melodic arrangements, and some of them are, like. Like scruggs type arrangements with little melodic tricks thrown in there, which is a lot of fun to do. And then I have melodics bag of licks lessons that you want to go and just start working some of those into your scruggs style arrangement.
My dad was a banjo player and was kind of in the 60s and 70s, and that was really big.
Oh yeah,
back then. Just the not full on melodic, but like sprinkling in a lot of melodic licks.
Oh yeah.
Into like Smokey or I'm trying to think of a lot of their Scruggs songs. He would put a lot of melodic licks in there, and yeah, it's pretty amazing.
Yeah, just a real easy one. Let me just show you a lick right quick. But you're used to, if you're playing Scruggs, you're used to going playing that. Well, the same lick can be played a different way. It's not the same lick, but the same amount of time. You could do something like this. It takes it the same amount of time. And what I did was I start with that G string, just like I did for my regular G lick. I do a forward roll. Get out of the way of this microphone. Forward roll. I play my 5th fret on the 2nd string. I do a forward roll. Then I play my 5th fret on the 3rd string. Open 2nd, 7th fret with my ring finger. And then an open G string. It's just a great little, it's honestly just almost the pentatonic scale coming down. So if you were going to do something like I'll Fly Away. So it would fit right there where a regular G lick would fit. So there's a whole bunch of those little licks like that you can find that would that take up the same amount of time as your regular Scruggs licks that you're used to going to, and you need to just start playing seesaw with them. Just switching them out in your regular jam, your regular practice, and they'll become more of a language for you.
Do you think it's a little bit of a mental switch, though, not just a timing transition, but like a way?
Yeah, I think so. I kind of flip back and forth a little bit. Like I think about those licks as 2 different categories. Maybe I shouldn't, but yeah, even stuff like that. I use a lot of them. I have I think about my melodic scale all the time and all the different things that I can do with that. All the different blues notes that are in between those major scale notes. Again, all that's on the sites there for your taking. So you can easily go there and find that. Then I have a bunch of like trick licks on there too. All those great Vic Jordan licks and stuff that they made popular. Go and feast.
Speaking of memberships, I heard you might have a little something there.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, if somebody's on here and if you're not a Gold Pick member, I'd like to give you a chance to come try it out. Give you a 3-month membership, which is like $75 value. So the first person to type a Gold Pick member that's not a Gold Pick member and put it in the chat, I will give you a Gold Pick membership. Gold Pick member. You gotta spell it right though. I'm kind of a stickler for spelling. Gold Pick member. Who's it gonna be?
First person to Dean.
Oh, that was
all
close.
Right.
Wow.
Perfect.
Lance.
Oh no, Lance. Oh, sorry.
Lance. Yeah, Lance.
All right.
All right, Lance. I want you to email me. Email me at ben@banjobenclark.com and just say, hey, I won the 3-month membership. And yeah, that'd be great. Thanks, buddy.
Yeah. Good for you.
And I'll tell you what else, like everybody else, do you have a way to email everybody on your list? Because
Yeah.
I'll just create a coupon code for like a really cheap Gold Pick membership, and you can send it to your list.
Sure.
We'll do that. And we'll just make it like silly cheap for y'all too.
Thank you, Ben. That was
You're
very generous.
welcome.
That's a really nice. Yeah, you'll get a lot definitely out of 3 months of membership on there.
Yeah,
for
I've got
sure.
like 800 lessons there. So
And you get all the melodic stuff on there too. So perfect. Very good. Very good. All right, let's grab a question.
yeah.
Getting close to the 10 o'clock time frame.
I've got my bladder has 16 more minutes.
Uh-oh. There's a bottle there somewhere, right? Let's see. Brad Richard. Do you know Brad?
Yeah, I know that name. How do I know that name?
Hello, good morning.
I recognize Brad.
I have a question.
Can you hear it?
Yeah.
I got
Oh, good.
a message from Colin Brown, a bluegrass trading company, to submit a question for Banjo Ben. And my question doesn't relate per se to the banjo itself, but to the recording devices and or stage mics specifically. My band, we have spent plenty of money on all different kinds of mics. And Ben, do you have a go-to mic for the stage? Live performances. We've gone SM57s, a little bit of everything, dynamic mics, condenser mics, and what is the mic that you would go to for a live bluegrass event for banjo, and for that matter, the mandolin, guitar, and can't wait to hear your answer. And again, thanks guys for making something like this available to people that are getting, maybe new into the banjo, and I appreciate your time.
For sure. Yeah, that's a great question, Brad. And your question, it has so many caveats to it, I just have to say, because you have some big variables there. One is the room. Two is the instrument. You're asking about various instruments. And number three, the most important, is the personnel that's running the place. And as well as I do with your experience that you run into all types. You'll play some places that have some really talented, knowledgeable folks, and then you play other places that just don't, and they don't have the budget to hire people that know really what they're doing, and so you deal with all types. So what that's led me to do, in my experience, is to go with more foolproof type solutions whenever I'm going out on the road, which admittedly I haven't done as much of in the last few years as I used to. There's a lot of new technology out there and such, but when I'm thinking about banjo, let's just talk about banjo, and let's just talk about the majority of your applications out there, from a big room to a small coffee shop. You're playing a very loud instrument that's got a lot of gain, so you can get away with not using as sensitive of a microphone and going with a dynamic solution. And with all things considered, because we as musicians, what do we want? We want the studio experience in a live environment. And I'm just telling you, as somebody who's worked with, I've played to over 1 million people before in Times Square. I've played in almost every NFL football stadium in the country. I've played the Grammys. I've played the CMA Music Awards. I've played Ryman Auditorium. And even in those highest echelons of venues, you run into issues. And so what you find yourself doing is, even in a place like the Grammys or something like that, that they end up going with the solution that's the most just trouble-free, the lowest risk. And so that's what I've gravitated towards live. It's like with the banjo, I'm okay using a 57 because I know that 9 out of 10 places I use a 57 is going to work really, really good, and maybe the best. Now that 1 out of 10 place where a nice condenser might work really well, then it would work better. But I can't travel and go to live venues depending on and banking on that venue having the best scenario. So with a banjo, I'm going to go with the SM57, and if I'll also carry a Shure SM81. It's just that is a condenser mic, small diaphragm, and that's what I use in my live setting here in the pavilion. By the way, I love your cabin. I know I'm kind of partial to cabins here as well. And so SM81s I really like. I'm not going to go with a really big diaphragm mic. We do carry, when I go out with my sisters, and they carry ear trumpet labs. Ear trumpet labs, you love them and you hate them both at the same time, because they can be so cool sounding, and they look, of course, as cool as any of them. But if there's anything wrong with that venue, if there's any kind of weird geometry going on between the monitor and the stage, and a line array maybe up behind you a little too far, then they're just a nightmare. And you end up you end up just encountering sound personnel that aren't used to handling bluegrass acts that are acoustic. They're used to running acts that have instruments that plug in and that have a lot more stage volume. And so they've never had to deal with a low stage volume and monitors that need to work with that. So you're just, unless you're Alison Krauss and you're traveling around with the best of the best of the best that are, all doing pre-production on all these venues, then you need to go with something that's kind of bulletproof. And you probably already have all the gear that you need. And I'm not telling you anything that you don't know. This is all just reinforcing what you've discovered out there on the road. And you have scars to prove it. And that's to travel with the 57s, SM81s. And then when you run into that rare bird, 1 out of 5, 1 out of 4, maybe 1 out of 3, depending on where you're playing, that can handle something like an air trumpet, then it's a beautiful situation when that happens. That's why you're seeing a lot of your pros go to pickups. And and that's something admittedly I don't know very much about, but they're condenser microphones that are mounted into your banjo, into your instruments, and they work really well. Back when I was on the road, this was a decade ago, I would use a Fishman Rare Earth pickup as an active pickup that worked really well. And that paired with a very good preamp and DI an EQ, which I used Baggs stuff most of the time, like a Baggs Para DI or a Baggs Venue. I've gotten with sound guys that know what they're doing. I've played large arenas to 50,000 people with a banjo that sounded like it was mic'd, though it was plugged in. What do you trade off with? What are your trade-offs when you go with a preamp? Is that you're now depending on the sound guy operating your gain. So, because you're just going to be sending him one gain volume, unless you're going to go with a volume pedal or a boost pedal of some kind, then it gets more complicated. So if I don't have a sound guy that I know and that he is or she is going to ride my solos, and more importantly than that, pull me back whenever I don't need to be loud, then I can't go with a pickup. There's all kinds of other mixes that might work, like running a pickup, keeping that low volume to where that would be your backup level, and then having a 57 sitting there or an 81. And whenever you go to do your fills or you're going to do your solo, you step into a mic, and now there's a mic and a pickup signal going out to front of house. Again, that's more complex. And we run into a lot of situations where you don't have that luxury. It's throw and go. We did a sunrise service for Easter at our church, and love them and all, but they just didn't have the ability or the time to do any kind of sound checks. And you know what we did? We threw up some 57s and just played, and it was great, and nobody knew the difference. Of course, I wanted to have all the condensers up there to capture everything, but we just didn't. So you've got to learn how to roll with it. And that's part of being a pro, is learn how to roll with it and learn how not to let your frustration show to the audience, because they probably don't know what you're dealing with anyway.
Awesome. Brad said, Brad's with the Hammer Creek Bluegrass. He said, thank you very, very much.
Cool.
Brad.
You're welcome, Brad.
We're going to see more Brad. So
yeah,
in the coming, he might be on our channel doing some stuff for us. So yeah. I have an email from a fellow VIP over at Picky Fingers Banjo podcast.
Oh, cool.
His name is Jeff Schaefer. I'm not sure if he's on tonight, but he wanted me to ask you a question. And that is, he's trying to decide between a Deering Hartford or a Recording King RK75 Elite. And Deering, Hartford, or Recording King, I would appreciate it. I can't decide whether I was to spend $3,700 to switch to the Deering.
Oh man, I think I know Jeff. The Deering Hartford's going to be a richer, more. It's going to have more dimensions. Gosh, $3,700. That's such a personal question. I don't know your budget, and I don't know what you're after with the Hartford. Like, what are you looking for beyond the elite? If you're looking for more of the bluegrass punch, if you're looking for more JD Crow beyond an RK75 Elite, then I don't know if you're going to find what you're looking for at $3,700 in a Deering Hartford. Even though they're outstanding banjos, I would probably go a different direction. Deering Hartford's just going to be a very versatile, round-sounding, beautiful, voluptuous-sounding, great-playing, beautiful banjo. It's going to hold its value. But if you were going for RK75 Elite, you're looking more for the, you're copying the RB75, which is kind of similar to what I'm playing here. I mean, it's a different round. So it's really hard. If you're looking to just switch because it's a more expensive banjo and maybe a domestic brand, I mean, I guess if that's your goal, then you might consider that. But if you're looking for bluegrass banjo, I don't know if I would necessarily make that switch.
Yeah, a lot of variables indeed. A lot of variables.
Man, but that's I was talking to somebody. Who was it? I guess maybe it was Tim Davis. I don't know. But we're talking about how banjo players. No, it was another guy. He's a very well-known banjo dealer. His name's Jim Britton. He's got series, and dear friend of mine. And we were laughing about it because banjo players have banjo, instrument acquisition syndrome, maybe more than any other type of instrument, because there's so many variables, there's so many flavors in a banjo, and then within a banjo, there's so many things that you can change to change the sound of the banjo, from the head to the bridge, the strings, to the setup, to your picks. And so it creates more of those frustrated owners than any other instrument of like, it doesn't quite have what I was looking for, and sends you on another quest. He was laughing about it because he had the same banjo come through his shop 3 different times from 3 different owners. A really good banjo. It's just people just change, So it sounds like that Jeff has a bit of that BAS, the banjo acquisition syndrome.
Have to remember that. Thanks, Jeff. And we have just a couple more questions.
Yeah.
Hopefully we have 5 minutes.
Yeah, man.
Till 10. We might end up going a little over. Hopefully, we don't do that. And then we'll do one more giveaway.
Yeah.
All right. Jameson Smith has made it over. He's the
howdy, Jameson. Hey, buddy.
My name is Jameson. Let me fix my hair. I just got a shower. But I have a question for you. My banjo teacher told me last week when I was playing a song for him that I was adding an extra note in because I was going. I can't remember what song it was. But can you help me, learn how I know when I'm not throwing the extra note in and set the timing off? Thank you.
Well, first of all, I want to congratulate Jameson on playing some good, funky banjo and also for taking a shower. Second one being quite rare amongst banjo players. So I commend your personal hygiene, Jameson, and also some really cool notes that you produced with that banjo. And I have to say that I noticed a couple of extra beats in even what you played for me there. Really good playing, but I did notice a couple beats. So how can you fix that? Number one, play with other people. And if you play with a guitar player that is stubborn. Play with a guitar player that does not adjust to you. So you got to find a guitar player that, first of all, has good timing, and then will continue to play the chord progression even when you mess it up, so that it becomes evident to you whenever you've added a beat. Because, and this is particularly evident whenever you play songs that are singing songs, because you'll think that you're one beat ahead or behind, and then they'll come in singing and it will correct you. And it's a bit of negative reinforcement to help correct you. And usually when I encounter people that have timing issues like this, because they do a lot of playing on their own and they're not playing with other people. It's just like learning how to speak another language. You have to go and you have to try it with native speakers, and the way that you learn is they reply back to you with correct vocabulary. And so you learn by hearing their negative but also positive reinforcement. Another thing that I can advise you to do is take a song that you are wanting to play, maybe that your banjo teacher has identified as one that you're adding a beat to, and tab it out. Tab out what you're wanting to play, what you're wanting to hear, and get his help or her help, and tab it out so that it makes sense, and that everything's square on the timing, and tab it out and tablet it, or another program that allows your computer or your device to play through the tab with a metronome playing if you want, but loud enough where you can hear it, and then play along with that tab and listen. And so whenever you add a beat in, you're going to hear it, because the tab is not going to have mercy on you. It's going to continue to play, and you'll notice that you get off, and then you can start to identify when you get off. So the biggest thing you need is honest people around you, just like your banjo teacher is. I commend them for being honest. And then you need other players around you that are honest and won't let you fudge. Because what I see a lot of is when people have issues playing and they're playing with some folks, people will hear them mess up and then adjust to them. And all that does is positively reinforce their problem. And so when I'm jamming with people, this happens in my cabin camps a lot, people come in early on solos or they start late, I do not adjust my rhythm playing to them. I'm sorry, because it helps them to hear. And I see it happen all the time. They're like, oh, well, I must have come in late because I was still playing my solo and y'all started singing again. Yeah, you did. But you needed to hear that. You didn't need somebody that could adjust to you and then make you feel like what you did was all right. That's not the loving thing to do. Truth is the loving thing. Tell the truth. And so it can sting a little bit, but it helps you get better in the long run.
Yeah, Ricky Anderson is saying something I was about to say too. Is your backing tracks or strum machine will help a lot with that too.
Sure will. Yeah, it doesn't lie.
Yeah,
doesn't lie.
Do you have 5 more minutes?
We can do 5 more.
5 more questions.
No, 5 more minutes. Yeah.
All right. Good, because I have one.
This was full of water, and this was full of water.
Good. Might be filled with something else.
No, not tonight.
Oh, good. I appreciate it. Yeah, because I've been wanting to ask you this question. I have a question about my own playing.
Yeah, let's do it, man.
I have privilege to
please
present my question, right?
Let's do it.
It's about economy of motion.
Okay. One, two, three, four, 1, 2.
You get the idea, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so what I'm doing with my middle fingers flying out.
Yeah.
And let me give you a little bit of backstory, just really quick.
Well, can I ask you another question real quick that's going to help me? Because it was bleached out. Are you planning with 1 finger or 2 fingers? What are you planning with?
Mostly my ring finger, but my pinky tends to like. I sometimes I plant with my both, and sometimes I just plant with my ring finger. Yeah.
Okay.
It's something I've noticed about probably a little more than a year ago, and it's something I've been trying to fix for a year now, easily. And I don't. And what I do is I'll slow down, and I think I'm making progress. And what I'll do is I'll slow down, and I feel like it might be tension related or something, and so I'll just slow down, and I'll just and it looks, and I'm doing pretty good, with particular licks. If I just repeat the lick over and over, instead of doing a song, I'll do like a forward roll over and over and over again with the metronome, and I do pretty well. But then something, I don't know what happens. It's like when I do start with a song, or my fingers just start flying, and if I don't record myself, it doesn't even feel like I'm doing it. It feels like I've achieved like a little bit more tightness, like the way you play. But when I look at the video and play it back, I'm like, oh wow, my finger's flying way more than I thought it was. And it's something I've been trying to work on for so long. And not only is it my middle finger flying out, but you'll notice my index finger kind of does this, right?
Yeah.
And so it's really something I've been and it does affect my accuracy. Otherwise, I probably wouldn't think about it all that much, but it does affect my accuracy. So.
Yep. So if I could be really honest with you, the fact that you say sometimes you plant with a ring and sometimes you do both, that's not a good answer. Something as fundamental as what we plant with should be what we do. That's my opinion, because to me, that would be as precarious as saying sometimes I walk on one leg, sometimes I do both. Like it's that, to me, it's that fundamental to what I'm doing. So I see tension in your hand. I do see it.
That's funny, because I work so hard on making, and it's it sounds like a oxymoron. I work really hard on making sure my hand is relaxed, but honestly, I really do. I really pay attention to how much my hand is relaxed.
Have you ever tried, Colin, like just really trying to only plant with your pinky?
Just my pinky?
Mm-hmm.
No, I don't know. My pinky's kind of short.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. It doesn't really matter to me that your pinky's short. I don't know that particularly poses a problem because of how you're. Here's what I tell people, and I want to be careful because these are all opinions, but still I've got a lot of research into this as well, and just experience seeing people. But again, this isn't a black and white test, but in my experience, if you hold your hand out like this, and I want you to curve your middle finger in. Okay. If when you curve your middle finger in, if you feel, and I'm not talking about all the way to your palm, just like what you would do if you're picking. And if you feel that it wants to pull your ring finger with it,
yeah,
you're going to run into a problem if you're trying to pick with your middle finger and you're planting your ring. Because you're forcing.
Because it seems when you say that, it's when I do like a forward reverse roll, or I'm really trying to become really hyper aware of the feeling in my finger as I pick through, and I notice where the tension is, and it definitely is like when I'm trying to lift my middle finger up onto that first string.
You're gonna feel it right here.
Yeah, it just feels a little bit uncomfortable, and I'm always trying to like it's like my middle finger is too long or like gangly or something. It's just like this thing that's like hanging around.
So whenever I pick, my ring finger shadows my middle finger. And this isn't just me. This is Russ Carson. This is a lot of different pro players. They're like gazillion times better than me. But because I'm in the minority of not posting my ring finger, and the old banjo hangout advice that you get from the old men there on the porch is if you don't plant your ring finger, you'll never sound like Earl. And I saw somebody tonight say that they even taped their fingers, which that has been, yeah, Frankie said that, and that has been and I'm like, no, why would you want to inhibit a natural movement like that? Probably result in some pain and maybe even damage. So when I pick, you're not gonna hear me as well, but I'm gonna stand up and let you see what it looks like. There's my ring finger, and it's behind my middle. My banjo's out of tune, but I don't care. But you could probably see that my ring finger moved like that behind my middle finger. When I first started playing, I did try to, after I got some advice, when I first started playing, I don't think I planted anything because I didn't know what I was doing. But then I got some advice like, oh, you got to plant both those fingers. If you don't do that, you'll never be any good. And I developed a lot of pain and here, a lot of tension, and my middle finger was doing some weird stuff. And finally, it just broke free. I was like, I don't care. I knew that I was deformed with this thing. I was like, I'm just going to do my pinky. And then I've grown to find, throughout my journey, that there's a lot of really good players that just plant one finger. And I can't tell you how many students over the years that have had some severe right hand problems. And I've both suggested that they plant either their pinky only, or maybe even like Alan Mundy does, their ring only, and it solved their tension problems. This is what I was talking about earlier about you, really asking some physiological questions about yourself and just trying some things. So, Colin, the fact that you've never just dedicated a week or so to just trying to plant your pinky only, I would tell you to do that immediately.
Okay.
I don't know what that'll do for your index, but it's liable to straighten all kinds of things out.
Yeah, the index might be compensating in some way for that movement. It does definitely seems correlated with the middle finger.
Yeah.
Like it's trying to like get out of the way or something. It's like it's like scared to get hit by them.
Yep.
I don't know. It's been really challenging to get. But the thing is, I'm really dedicated to fixing it. Mm-hmm. And figuring out what the issue is, because it is a bit discouraging, thinking like, because I feel like it's held me back, and I've been playing now for about 4 or 5 years, and I want to hear how it goes. I want you to take a week or two and just play slow with your pinky only, and watch that ring. If that ring starts moving along with your middle, that's a good sign. And then you just, somebody said they taped their ring finger or something? No, don't do that. They were trying to plant both and they couldn't. So they taped their 2 fingers together to plant them. Oh. Bad. But if the ring finger is moving around, it's going to hit the string, right? No, it won't. The shadow's underneath it. Hmm. If it's curling up past the middle finger and hitting the string, then we got some other issues we need to talk about, but it's not going to do that. Okay. Well, thanks. Yeah, I can't say that I've never tried to plant with just my pinky, but definitely I haven't really given it a give it some time. Yeah, I'll give it some time for sure. I wish, and I know when I first started playing, at the very beginning, I only planted with my ring finger, and my pinky would be like out. Yeah. Would be out like this, and I'd play like that. And and then I tried to plant both or something, and I don't know. Yeah, good. Thanks, Rodney. Yeah, you're very welcome. Yeah.
Well, earlier I was kind of joking about the bathroom thing, but now I'm serious.
Okay.
So, it's been a great night.
Thank you, everyone.
Yeah.
Ben, again, yeah, so appreciative that you
Yeah,
were able
I
to
was
jump on.
tell Brian, do not attach the ring to the pinky. If you find that you have to attach your ring to the pinky to make it stay there, stop. I mean, I think you could, I mean, maybe it could help train you, but that could do some damage too, man. It's like, if your body's screaming at you, your physiology is screaming at you that your fingers can't stay together to do this movement, then that means you shouldn't make yourself do it. That's my opinion.
All right.
I'm not a doctor, but
I'll update you next week.
Okay.
But that's all I'm gonna do. I'm gonna.
Okay.
That's all I'm gonna do. That's just gonna an hour a day of just planning that pinky. That's what I'm gonna do.
Yeah.
So I'll let you know.
Okay. Cool.
All right.
Hey, good to see y'all.
Thanks,
had fun.
everyone.
We'll do it again. Okay.
Oh, thank you. Yeah. Thank you, everyone. We'll see you around.
Good night. Bum, see you at BanjoBenClark.com. Buy those trading cards. Bye-bye.
BanjoAllStars.com.
BanjoAllStars.com.